My colleagues, good day to the people of the territory. Good day to the staff. I rise in support of all of the nominations here. I would like to say, when it comes to the nominee for the Supreme Court, Harold W.L. Wilcox, Esquire, it is my hope that our court system continues to thrive in a way where, in my opinion, it does its due diligence. And I hope that they continue on a pathway to create a semblance of balance here in the territory. And it is my wish that with this new added individual, it will bring about balance. As it relates to Ms. Avril George, Human Services is a special location, department in my heart, because it's the place where the people, especially that need it the most, that need the most help, that need the most services, go to. And I'm not going to say that in the last 3 years that I've been a senator, when they come before us to testify, I have not always been too happy with the reports that I've been getting out of Human Services. And sometimes we do have to make a change to improve things. So it is my hope that Ms. George is going to bring that needed change and improvement that we need within Human Services, because at the end of the day, it is to serve the people of this territory and make their lives a little bit better. I really don't have much issue with any of the other nominees.
30 seconds.
I know that Mr. Antonio Stevens will be stepping into a position. Unfortunately, we lost Mr. George Darrow, and it is my hope that these shoes that he's going to fill, that he does some service to the people of the territory when it comes to fire service. And I look forward to see all that is going to be done by all of these nominees, because as a territory, we need people in position that is going to make sure that we progress, that we move forward, and make sure this territory shines in a way that not only that it serves the people of this territory, but shows that what we are capable of and how great this Virgin Islands is.
Time.
So thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you very much, Senator Frances Heiliger.
Once again, to my colleagues, to the people of the territory, good afternoon to the staff. I rise in support of some of these pieces of some of these bills. I had an opportunity to listen and hear what many of them needed. We discussed in regards to the boat ramp. We had conversations in regards to dealing with some of these rezonings, also making amendments for the considerations for dealing with the shifting from R4, I believe, to business scattered. I am in support of anything that will allow us to really advance the territory in any way, minus personal gain. Outside of that, as it relates to 350213, I see the bill is here before us again, and there was some major concerns with that piece of legislation, because the area is considered home where people go and relax and have their own serenity, and they want to put in an area where people live, amphitheaters, barbershops, a list of things that I personally don't think should be in an area where people work hard and go home to relax and have to deal with that. But I was told an amendment is coming forward, and I'm a fair individual. So I will listen to the amendment and see what kind of changes we'll make to this bill. But as of now, in its current stance, I do not support it, because I think when people purchase property, they should be able to have a peace of mind when nighttime comes. One or two owners in the area were very concerned about the noise and their grandchildren being able to rest, to go to school. And hopefully the amendment will clean up some of the things that were major concerns for the neighbors in this area. And we will see what happens after that. So thank you very much for the time, and I will vote once I see the amendment for this particular piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis Heiliger. Next, we come to Senator.
Mr. President, I move to waive Rule 403, 404, 405, and 509B of the Rules of the 35th Legislature to Special Order BR number 230085, a resolution petitioning the United States Congress to amend the revised Organic Act of the Virgin Islands to authorize the people of the Virgin Islands to elect an Attorney General of the Virgin Islands to the session, and it be given a bill number pursuant to Rule 509A to be sent to the Committee on Jurisdiction. I so move.
Motion properly made by Senator Francis Heiliger, seconded by Senator Blyden.
Good afternoon once again to the people of the territory. Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the staff. I rise in support of all the pieces of legislation before me today. I had an opportunity, whether it was participating in committee hearings or listening during our committee of the whole as it relates to these pieces of legislation. I understand the need for quite several pieces of them. We understand the need to make adjustments for businesses to expand. We understand the need for economic growth in the territory. And all of these pieces of legislation played either a key role in making sure that some of these things are accomplished. As it relates to Brigadier Galabier, I thought it was very poignant in bringing forward this and honoring him for all the hard work that he has done throughout the years as a member of the National Guard. And I am one of those individuals that believe that we should honor Virgin Islanders when we have an opportunity. We hear too often that we do not have enough of VI history, but there are many people in this territory that we should be very proud of, that has a strong sense of Virgin Islands pride and has done so much for this community. And as we continue to make these resolutions, there's nothing stopping us from utilizing this information to make sure our history is known and preserved, because each one of these individuals have contributed to the history of this Virgin Islands. Thank you, Mr. President, for the time.
Thank you very much, Senator.
To my colleagues, good afternoon to the people of the territory, good afternoon to staff. I rise in support of many pieces of these legislation as it relates to 350115, often known throughout the U.S. as Ban the Box. This is an opportunity when it comes to people that have been convicted of crimes once they have already served their time and they're trying to head back into our society, that, you know, sometimes when you're going to a job, you should not be discriminated against or even set aside before you get the full opportunity. So by removing that box to state whether you're a criminal or not, it gives you a little bit more leeway to get your foot in the door and potentially get an opportunity at starting a new life. We also would like to stress and support as it relates to bill number 35-0178 that has to do with the expungement of records when it comes to probable cause. You know, unfortunately, there have been situations where something should have never even gone near a courthouse. People should have never been arrested. There have been situations where, whether it's mistaken identity, but whatever the case is, if there's no probable cause, those things need to be disappeared from your record. They should not stay there to linger, and you have to spend the rest of your life explaining to people why you're in the system. I also rise in support as it relates to 350182. As you know, unfortunately, when you have relationships, sometimes they do break up. Sometimes people are no longer suited for each other. But there are individuals at times get a little petty and they want to circulate nude photos of their former partners just to humiliate them, embarrass them, you know, cause disruption at their workplace and whatever reason. But this piece of legislation, once codified in the code, here in the Virgin Islands will give those individuals something to fight back and say, you have no right to do this to me. You have no right to try to utilize something that's private to embarrass me and hurt me in any shape or form. I also would like to speak as it relates to the special order
30
piece of
seconds.
legislation as it deals with liberty. As you know, here in the territory, we've been having a difficult time with communication with our cell phones specifically since the transition from AT&T to Liberty. I was one of the individuals here on the floor when they came to this floor and they said on March the 31st, at the end of March, this entire process will be done with. I am one of those senators.
Time.
Could I just wrap up? I am one of those senators that have chosen to wait until March the 31st to see what's going to happen, because come April Fool's Day, if my phone is not working according to what they said it's going to be working, this bill is nice, but all hell gonna break loose. So at the end of the day, I would like to thank the sponsor for bringing the bill forward because something needs to be done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the people of the territory. I rise in support of many pieces of legislation in this block as it relates to 350192. This one has to do with the lifting of the limits as it relates to the personal loan program through our GRS. This has been a long time coming. While it has been implemented coming soon through GRS, there was a limit when the law was passed several years ago to bring it back, and adjustments will be made to lift that, as well as several other things in regards to the limited liability of $75,000. I also want to speak a little bit about honoring and commending Mrs. Bernice Alma Turnbull. You know, this is a woman I admired for many years as I saw her as the Commissioner of Finance and how she managed the monies of this territory. I was very happy when she was here testifying and gave a lot of her experiences while she was being the Finance Commissioner. You know, when someone can leave an administration after election and leave over $300 million in the bank account of the coffers of the general fund. But we fast forward to today when you have the finance members telling us it's only fake money on paper. That is a stark difference between people that actually knew how to manage money and people that's just playing with monopoly money. So I'm very, very happy to give her her blessings and her honor because she did a yeoman's job in making sure our monies were covered and actually in the bank. I also would like to share my thoughts on 350226. We had a very vigorous conversation as it relates to creating a default number and codifying it in the code when it deals with our children and receiving child support. This piece of legislation does not affect parents, the non-custodial parent who is paying their child support. It does not affect those that are turning in their financial information to formulate what they have to pay
1 minute,
child
30
support.
seconds.
This piece of legislation, sole reason, had to do with individuals that were receiving a default and utilizing it as a way for when they don't turn in their documentation, they might have been paying far less than what they should have been paying when it comes to taking care of the children of this territory. During the session that day, we decided to move it from a default of $250, while the sponsor, while she was a little bit more conservative at $350, we decided to go to $1,000. At the end of the day, we have to step up when it comes to these children. This $1,000 is a mechanism to force those individuals that have been trying to avoid turning in their paperwork. The minute you turn in your
30
paperwork,
seconds.
you will be assessed. So if it's only $300 you have to pay, that's what you'll pay. If it's $500 you have to pay, that is what you'll pay. But the key is to turn in your paperwork. We keep making excuses for these people that are procreating and not supporting their children. And when it comes to the children of this territory, we have to do what we have to do. Now, as it relates to 35023, that was just 237, that was just special ordered. Could I just wrap up quickly, Mr. Chair? Mr. President, I was a Girl Scout from elementary all the way up to 12th grade, and I enjoyed it immensely. Being a Girl Scout played a huge role in who I am today because it taught me about camaraderie, it taught me about engaging with others, and it taught me that I could be anything that I wanted to be. And I want to take this time out that we are taking the opportunity to recognize these young girls and their teachers and their supporters and take the time out to say thank you. Because without Girl Scouts, I don't think I might have been standing here today. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for the additional time.
Thank you very much.
707, I rise to offer Amendment 35707 to amend Bill number 350-226, offered by Senator Alma Francis Heiliger. Bill number 35-0226, Section 1, Internal Section F, is amended by striking minimum and not less than. I so move.
Second.
Motion properly made by Senator Alma Francis Heiliger.
Evening once again. I just wanted to just quickly share my thoughts on a few things as I leave this evening. As it related to 35-0213, I wanted to say that I had an opportunity to speak to the neighbor as it related to that piece of property, and I am an individual that believes in being balanced. And after speaking to the neighbor, we as a body made accommodations so that that neighbor could feel well within their neighborhood. So I was very satisfied after we were able to do that. As it relates to special ordering 35-0248, that was sponsored by myself so we can petition Congress so we can make an effort to have our own elected Attorney General here in the territory. We have sent it to the Committee of Jurisdiction. Hopefully, when we offer information and testimony, I think it's a long time coming. As we see throughout the United States, over 40 plus states have already decided to elect their Attorney General. We need to reduce the politicization of this particular office. And if we have to go to the point of election, that is what I support. The people of the territory several years ago went to the polls with a referendum, and at 73.76% stated they wanted an elected Attorney General. It is time to do so. So thank you very much, Mr. President, for the time, and happy Easter to everyone.
Thank you very much, Senator Alma Francis Heiliger. Happy